That brings us to, which would be our item number 12. We do not have anyone signed up for public participation, so we'll be going to item number 13, which is action as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. And Ms. Hammond, I see you. Can you hear me?
I hear you well, yes.
Okay.
I don't see you. I see a pretty face. I think it's Rachel Bright.
Okay. Good job, Rachel.
If you can see me, we're good.
Okay. And I was going to tell you, I appreciate you calling in. You've taken a lot of time tonight. We've had a lot of really great information in executive session. I know that puts you at a real disadvantage to know what we talked about or didn't talk about. And we're also here in the center, I think, getting ready to have a really big thunderstorm. So I will just tell you that I would like to offer to you some follow-up to the four items, but really three that we discussed tonight with our legal counsel at a later date. That could be arranged so you could get some of the detail of the great information we got tonight. So I'm gonna offer you that, knowing you're at a distinct disadvantage. But with that said, we are now on item 13 and ready to take action on the items from executive session. The first one is item 3A, selected employment items. Do I have a motion? Mr. Cates.
Mr. Chairman, I move we give approval to selected employment items as presented in Exhibit A.
Do we have a second? Ms. Gardner seconds. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of selected employment items as shown in Exhibit A, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And Ms. Hammond is unanimous. All right, that brings us to item, okay, I did. Item 3B, which is receipt of legal advice and discussion of the status of the civil action number 2013-CP-40-01897. Ms. Hutchison.
I move the board authorize its legal counsel to continue settlement discussions regarding the district's counterclaims against Kim Murphy in the case Kim Murphy versus Richland-Lexington School District 5, consistent with the board's discussion during executive session.
And do we have a second? Mr. Lovelace seconds. Is there any discussion? Mr. Lovelace.
I want to make sure that we come back and revisit this issue as the need be. I understand that'd be executive session because of the nature of it, but I just want to, get some assurances that we will review that and that we continue to monitor and so forth.
Mr. Lovelace, I'll speak and say I think that's, with this motion, we're asking for those negotiations to continue on.
Right.
And any of that will be brought back in, plus the good things that we heard in executive session too. So, yeah.
Okay.
And Ms. Hammond?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gann. I just would like to say, and I know you and I had conversations, and I appreciate you going to catch me up to speed. I just know all of us on the board want to see this come to a conclusion so that we can save the money and put our district back on with all our money going to students. And so I appreciate that Ms. Hutchinson's motion, I am assuming, will put us in that direction.
And it will, and thank you very much for that. Any other discussion? Any other comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion under 3B, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Brings us to item 3C, which is receipt of legal advice regarding management of real property inventory owned by the school district. Ms. Gardner.
I move that we authorize the administration to proceed to address the legal issues raised regarding management of the district's real property inventory and report to the board at such time as the legal questions are resolved.
Mr. Cates seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Hammond.
Rather than discussion, Mr. Gann, would you repeat hers? I could not hear her plainly, but I can hear you plainly.
Would you like for me to read it? Just hold on a minute. I'm going to read it for you.
Thank you, Mr. Gann.
This is Ms. Gardner's motion. I move that we authorize the administration to proceed to address the legal issues raised regarding management of the district's real property inventory and report to the board at such time as the legal questions are resolved. So that was a motion. Mr. Cates, second, am I correct? And that's where we are. So did you hear all that?
I heard that. I have one question. And
Okay.
then when they report back to the board, will that be made public so the public understands what our limitations are and what the rules and laws are concerning to sell property owned by taxpayers, correct?
We're planning to have a public
Good.
a public presentation of matters related to district property at some point in the future. And this raises, if there are legal questions that have to be resolved, I think that's what that's addressing. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Gardner, thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. So we are good. We're not looking for any motions on 3D. So thank you very much on our items from executive session. And that brings us to item 14, which is our second and final reading of proposed revisions to board policy JHCB, release time for religious instruction shown in Exhibit B. Do we have a motion? Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we give second and final reading of proposed revisions to Board Policy JHCB, release time for religious instruction, as shown in Exhibit B.
Do we have a second? Mr. Cates seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. That brings us to item number 15, which is second and final reading of Board Policy EBCB, safety drills, shown in Exhibit C. Do I have a motion? Mr. Cates.
Mr. Chairman, I move we get second and final reading of proposed revisions to Board Policy EBCB, safety drills, Exhibit C.
We have a second. Mr. Lovelace seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving second and final reading of the safety drill shown in Exhibit C, raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And that brings us to item number 16, which is to adjourn. And I've got Ms. Hutchison, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to ask a quick question. Under the information agenda, we have the school board policy process board review. Do we want to mention that tonight, or would we bring that up? It's really just an FYI for everybody. Should we just plan on just explaining that at a future meeting?
I think that was the intent, unless the administration would be ready to do that. But would you, Dr. Belton, you all are okay? You're planning to bring it probably next time or within the next two meetings?
Yes, sir. We plan to have on the 24th of June, this is information again, but just for the community and for the board to understand, policy BGD, which was issued in 2006. I will read from the fourth paragraph of the policy for the board to be able to look at that exhibit or for the public to look up. Each proposed policy will require 2 readings at regular meetings of the board. The formal adoption of the policies will be recorded in the minutes of the board. Only those written statements so adopted and so recorded will be regarded as official board policy. So just for the community to know, we will definitely be adhering to policy as it's written, of 2 meetings for 2 reviews of policies. And of course, if there's anything that requires further, then the staff will be responsive to that. But this is just for information as a reminder of the operations of the administration and the board that we plan to implement effective July. But there'll be a reminder again for the next board meeting. So no changes. It's just a reminder of the operation of the policies and how policies are reviewed.
Okay. And then, of course, the Title 1, 2, and 4 programs that you have listed here, we have information for that, so I think we're fine. And I will just remind everybody before we do adjourn that our next regular scheduled meeting will be June the 24th, right here at the center for advanced technical studies. So, without further items, I would take us back to item number 16, which is a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. White. Do we have, excuse me? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Okay. Do we have a second? Mr. Cates, second. Any discussion? Ms. Hammond, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the 24th. Thank you. So all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. And thank you all for being here. This is your motion. She's got a